Pop-punk has its naysayers among punk fans, although saying nay is sort of the go-to move for some punks. However, there are a lot of fine bands out there that fall under the nebulous definition of pop-punk. In fact, you could argue that the Ramones, one of the first punk bands, was also one of the first pop-punk bands. Many groups over the years have combined the propulsive sensibilities of punk with the bright sheen of pop, and here is our version of the best pop-punk band Part 2. Modern Baseball. Led by co-songwriters Brendan Lukens and Jacob Ewell, Philadelphia indie quartet Modern Baseball emerged in the mid-2010s offering an appealing mix of melodic pop-punk, emo, classic indie rock and acoustic punk. Rising from their humble college band roots to global recognition, they eventually joined the Run for Cover Records roster where their third LP, 2016's Holy Ghost, earned them widespread critical acclaim and charted in the US, UK and Australia. Modern Baseball formed at Drexel University in Philadelphia in 2012, where songwriters Lukens and Ewell began writing catchy pop-punk-influenced indie rock, with nods to the likes of Say Anything and Motion City soundtrack alongside the lyricism of Dashboard Confessional and the wit of the Front Bottoms. The two high school friends started out as an acoustic act, but after meeting Sean Huber on drums and Ian Farmer on bass, they became a four-piece. Charlie Bliss. Led by the distinctively perky voice of singer and guitarist Eva Hendricks, indie rock outfit Charlie Bliss are indebted to the catchy alt-rock of 90s bands like Weezer and more on Point Veruca Salt. After struggling early on to find the right balance of their grungy rock and tendency toward bright pop hooks, they decided the two could coexist and emerged with their full-length debut titled Guppy in 2017. They shifted the balance toward pop on 2019's Young Enough. Eva Hendricks and guitarist Spencer Fox met as high school students in Westport, Connecticut. They began their musical partnership by playing covers together, soon enlisting Eva's brother Sam Hendricks to play drums and Dan Shure to play bass. The Vandals. One of the enduring bands on the SoCal punk scene, the Vandals have made a career out of being the jokers in the deck. Unapologetically devoted to silly and/or tasteless humor along with crunchy guitars, aggressive but hook-infused tunes, and revved-up rhythms, the Vandals have been together since 1980, and despite personnel changes and occasional downtime, they've continued to crank out tight and snarky punk rock for almost 40 years. They also managed to do so on their own terms, building a sizable following without dealing with major labels and releasing much of their material on their own Kung Fu Records imprint. After establishing their creative template on 1990's Fear of a Punk Planet and cutting fan favorites like 1998's Hitler Bad, Vandals Good and 2000's Look What I Almost Stepped In. The Vandals have rarely gone out of their way to break new ground, but they can slip into metal and punk styles when they feel like it, and their catalog includes detours into fractured country music and Christmas carols. Paramore. Although their blend of emo pop and slick, anthemic rock and roll eventually made them stars on both sides of the Atlantic, Paramore began humbly enough in Franklin, Tennessee, where Hayley Williams met brothers Josh and Zach Farro after moving to town from Mississippi. Already a powerhouse vocalist at the age of 13, Williams joined a band that the Farro siblings had formed with local guitarist Taylor York. She left the group soon after, signing with Atlantic Records as a solo artist instead, but clashed with the label over the direction of her music. Seeking to front her own band, Williams convinced Atlantic to let her piece together a full lineup. Josh and Zach Farro were recruited for the job, as were guitarist Jason Bynum and bassist Jeremy Davis. Brand new. Although the members of Brand New cut their teeth in various hardcore bands, the group took a more melodic approach to its own work, embracing punk pop on the debut album Your Favorite Weapon and incorporating aspects of indie rock during future projects. Formed in Long Island, New York, the band took shape in 2000 around the talents of drummer Brian Lane, vocalist, guitarist Jesse Lacey, bassist Garrett Tierney, and guitarist Vin Accardi. Brand New wasted little time attracting local attention with a self-released demo, and shows alongside Midtown and Glassjaw helped spread the band's buzz outside of New York. In 2001, the musicians issued their first record, Your Favorite Weapon, which featured production from friend Mike Saponi. Lacey's clever and cutting lyrics sprinkled the album, which produced the semi-hit Jude Law and A Semester Abroad, and more touring with the likes of Taking Back Sunday and Finch followed. Alkaline Trio. Since the mid-90s, punk trio Alkaline Trio have delivered urgent punk blasts with a dark, driving edge that helped them remain commercially viable without sacrificing their raucous spirit. Slowly ascending through the Warped Tour ranks into the early 2000s, they reached the Billboard Top 20 with 2003's mainstream breakthrough Good Morning. They hit a peak with Seventh Set This Addiction, which topped the rock, alternative, and indie charts in 2010. Later that decade, after frontman Matt Skiba took a break to join Blink, Alkaline Trio issued their 9th LP, 2018's Is This Thing Cursed? Cayetana. Philadelphia's lo-fi punk rock trio Cayetana rose from the same DIY scene that produced contemporaries Waxahachie, Radiator Hospital, and Modern Baseball. Members Kelly Olson and Allegra Anka first met while enrolled in a New York college before moving back to their hometown of Philadelphia, where they met Augusta Koch. None of them had any formal training on their respective instruments, but they forged ahead, making music on borrowed equipment and channeling the attitude of Riot GRRRL outfits Sleater Kinney and Bikini Kill, alongside the indie rock influences of Guided by Voices and the Mountain Goats. Soon after forming in 2012, they released a home-recorded, 3-track demo online and proceeded to play as many shows as possible. After hearing their music, independent label Tiny Engine signed Cayetana for their debut album. They spent time tweaking the songs and headed into the studio with engineer Matt Schimmelpfennig in 2013 and 2014 to complete their first album Nervous Like Me, which was released in mid-2014. 2 years later, Cayetana returned with the Tired Eyes EP, and in 2017 they released their second full-length, the critically lauded New Kind of Normal on their own Plum Records label. The Beths. Fronted by their main songwriter Elizabeth Stokes, New Zealand indie rock group The Beths combine energized guitar riffs, melodic hooks and harmonized backing vocals in their impulsive, distinctly self-depreciating music. Having already won fans as a live act, the band released their first album, Future Me Hates Me, in 2018. The Beths' 2021 live album Auckland, New Zealand, 2020 featured earworms from the debut and follow-up Jump Rope Gazers. Their third long player, 2022's Anxious Expert in a Dying Field, was completed in a Los Angeles studio during tour. Elizabeth Stokes went to high school with Jonathan Pierce, and they later met Benjamin Sinclair and Ivan Lucatina Johnston while all four were studying jazz at the University of Auckland. The Beths materialized when the friends were playing together and began revisiting the punk pop of their youth. They liked the results and made their recording debut in 2016 with the Pierce-produced Warm Blood EP. Taking Back Sunday. Formed in 1999 in Amityville, New York, Taking Back Sunday have modeled their interpretation of melodic hardcore after bands like Lifetime, Endpoint, and Sunny Day Real Estate, as well as guitarist Ed Reyes' emo outfit The Movie Life. After putting in their time on the New York, New Jersey punk scene, toiling away as a perennial opening act, and selling themselves hard on the band's Warped Tour, The band achieved a major breakthrough with 2004's Where You Want to Be released on Victory Records. Rooted in anthemic punk and hardcore, Taking Back Sunday also possess a mature sense of songcraft and structure that expands on the punk template. By the time 2006's Louder Now was released, the group had become mainstream rock stars. Though co-founder and lead guitarist Fred Mascherino left in 2007 to focus on his solo career, Taking Back Sunday soldiered on with releases on Warner Brothers and Hopeless Records. The Ergs. Three willfully geeky guys from New Jersey who play pop-punk with speed, power, and a mighty smirk. The Ergs came together in 2000, with Jeffrey Erg on guitar and vocals, Joey Erg on bass, and Mikey Erg on drums and lead vocals. The band wasted no time preserving their music for posterity, putting out 2 self-released CDRs in their first year as a band. But the group first attracted attention outside their peer group with the 5-song 3 Guys, 12 Eyes EP, released by the Whoa-Oh label in 2001. In a bid to raise their profile by being sued, the Ergs next issued the Ben Queller EP in 2002. It borrowed the artwork from Queller's disc EP Phone Home and featured a song poking less than charitable fun at the indie rock protege. In 2003, the Ergs put out their first full-length album titled Dorkrot, which earned enthusiastic reviews in the punk press and spread word about the band outside of their home state. After an initial release on Whoa-Oh, the album was picked up by Don Giovanni Records, which distributed the Ergs' next EP 2005's Jersey's Best Prancers. In 2006, the group was chosen to back Dave Parasite of the Parasites as he launched a tour to support a Parasites Best of CD, and they signed with Dirtnap Records, which scheduled the band's second full-length album tentatively called Upstairs, Downstairs for the spring of 2007.